Uh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
All right, Blake, how are you doing today?
Good.
Well, we're going to give this podcast another shot.
Yeah, a little behind the scenes. So we have done this a lot of times, and every time, hopefully, we're going to get a little looser. But we've been super tight on trying to talk in front of a camera and different things. So, anyways, this time. I think our big focus is kind of just loosening up and just getting to see the real side of us.
Right?
So what is this? Since this is probably the first.
Yeah, so episode 1, this is going to be the roughest one of the bunch, but episode 1 of the Summit Realty Group podcast. Here in Fairbanks, Alaska, we're going to talk about real estate. We're going to talk about what we love about Alaska and then try to bring some more people into what Alaska is really like. Mm-hmm. A lot of people watch us on TV. Fairbanks PD, Alaska State Troopers, Bush People, name one of the 1,000 TV shows we have, but...
I think it's the first, whenever you say you're from Alaska, most people are like, hey, I watch, and they'll list like 3 shows. And it's a variety each time. Like, I like the gold miners. I like
Alone.
Yeah.
I want to see the episode where he killed a moose with his bare hands.
Yeah. So it's all like that. They're all very true as far as I know.
Yeah. So we're trying to bring people into Fairbanks, understand that we don't live in igloos and that we're not hunted by polar bears on the regular.
Mm-hmm. Cool. So on this one, we kind of want to just discuss again how we got here. So most people, a lot of people are born and raised here, but a lot of people are transits. Fairbanks has a draw, Alaska has a draw to it. So what in particular brought you here?
Yeah, so I came up here in 16 actually, on military orders. So I was in the Army. I was a infantry officer. And I got the pink slip that said, you're going to Alaska. So packed up my bags, sold everything that I didn't need, and drove up here.
Now you can kind of request things. Did you request to come up here, or was this totally out of the blue?
So the way the Army works is it's kind of by the needs of the Army. You can tell them what you want, but it only carries a little bit of weight. So I was actually supposed to go to Fort Hood, Texas, take over command of a Bradley unit, which is like a light infantry tank company. And then instead, I got a shoulder replacement that delayed me by 6 months, which means my job in Fort Hood was gone. And so they're like, we need to get you in the pipeline as quick as possible. Alaska has the shortest command queue. So I came up here and after a year took command.
Oh, okay. Cool. So when you, before you got here, were you excited to come up? Are you always excited wherever you go? Or are you like, shoot, this is the last place I want to be?
I always liked, so I joined the Army to see the world, right? And I had amazing opportunities throughout all of Europe, Southeast Asia, and some other cool places. But so after leaving Kentucky and Georgia, which are pretty places, right?
Yeah.
I loved them, don't get me wrong, but
not a lot of people.
You can drive there, and most people have been to Georgia or Texas, right?
They're not taking cruises to Kentucky.
Exactly. So coming to Alaska was kind of an adventure, and I got really excited about it. Not to get too personal, but the relationship definitely ended because of Alaska, which opened up the opportunity for me to start a new amazing relationship up here with my current girlfriend. But so there was some hardships. There was some joys that definitely came along with coming to Alaska. The 14-day road trip across the entire country was a memory that I will never forget.
Did you enjoy that? By the end, I guess it's always different when you start and when you finish, but by the end were you like, oh, I'm so happy I did that, or I wish the military had moved me, or I'd let them?
Yeah, so I really enjoyed it. I keep saying if it wasn't for the return trip, I would do it again. Mm-hmm. Like one more trip the other way would be cool, but the back and forth to come back to home wouldn't be. So it definitely was hard driving that much. Being alone for that long, because I traveled.
When did you come?
I mean, it was midsummer, so
okay.
I didn't have the hardships of driving through Canada in the winter, but Canada is nothing but a construction site. The Alcan Highway is nothing but getting repaved year after year because of permafrost issues. So
I think there's a lot of I don't know how to say it, but around the Alcan itself is the big part of the Alaska trip for sure. Like it's the number one thing.
It's half of it.
Yeah, it's so much more than you think. So you look on the map, I think Canada may look smaller than it is, but if no matter where you're coming from, you're spending more time in Canada almost indefinitely than you are in the States. Except maybe if you're from Florida. But
when I hit Montana from Georgia, I was like, I'm halfway there.
Yeah.
And I really think that was about a third of the trip.
Yeah, it's shocking.
Yeah.
And so the Alcan doesn't start right when you hit the border.
It starts like north of Edmonton.
Yeah, so you're already like in the cold zone, you're high up, and it is way better than what it used to be. So I have a lot of family kind of, and I'll go through what happened to me, but like a lot of my older family come through when it was all gravel. There was
It's
no
about 50% gravel still.
It's still
It's still pretty
like
rough.
it's 100% paved, but not at the same time.
Right.
Like it's always in construction, and
Tearing
it's-
it up, redoing
Yeah,
it.
and they have like miles of gravel. So, but my grandpa, when he first came up, he had 17 flats from the Alcan forward. And yeah, so in finding tire shops and things, and so it's still like right now.
I
It's,
was panicking about gas stations. I would
yeah.
once I got past Edmonton and Banff and Jasper and all like the populated southern part of Canada.
Yeah.
I started heading north through British Columbia and Yukon where there's nothing. Every time I passed a gas station, I filled up.
Yeah.
To the point where 20 miles later, I filled up again just because I didn't know when the next one was.
You still have to. That's the thing. It's still like super wild, like in modern day. But to think that it's like as cultured as it's been, and there is as much paved roads probably as there's ever been on the Alcan, it's still really wild. I did the opposite. I had a little SUV, and SUVs have pretty small gas tanks. I was towing a trailer, so the gas
So your
mileage is
mileage
horrible.
was awful.
Yeah, we're coming up over the pass, and I just filled up literally 20 miles before. I'm like, I'm going to skip this gas station. We keep going, and then you're just watching it go down, and like my anxiety level was going up and up. And if anybody didn't know, you bring extra gas with you. So I had 5 gallons of extra, but I was like, oh man. And I was like, all right, I got to fill up. My fuel light came on. We pulled over. I was with my dad actually on this trip. But anyways, filled up. This was there was snow. It wasn't winter, but it was snow at that time. And I'm out there kind of cold, and it takes forever with the 5-gallon jug. And we literally round the corner, and there was
There's
the
a gas
next.
station.
Yeah, there was the next town. It was like the biggest town we'd seen in forever. And there's Tim Hortons.
Yep.
Have you been to Tim Hortons?
Oh my God. Why don't we have one?
I'm just saying. I don't
I'm
know.
saying we're basically Canada,
I know.
right? We have a lot of Canadian influence
Everybody
here.
likes Tim Hortons.
Why not have a Tim Hortons?
Yeah, but-
Get rid of Starbucks.
So, anyways, past the Alcan. So you're here at, let's say when you got to Fairbanks, because you're now obviously out of the military, were you already on that path to get out of the military, or was Fairbanks a big part of that decision?
Fairbanks was a huge part of that decision. Coming up here, I didn't expect much. I expected 3 years here and then go on somewhere else. But I did fall in love with the town, the small community, the isolation of Fairbanks. I've never been somewhere that doesn't suburban sprawl into like 14 different towns. In fact, that's where I grew up. I grew up in a small town, like 20,000 people, but there was a town of 100,000 people 30-minute drive away. The fact that we're here with 100,000 people in Fairbanks, but there's nothing. I mean, Delta's 100 miles away, Nenana's another 80 miles away.
It's a
And
major
both
difference.
of those are tiny towns. Those aren't even like those are
Oh.
suburban sprawl, if you will. But
Yeah.
it's a town of a couple thousand. So
I think people are surprised when we say that it's 100,000 people in the borough, because I lived in a county, not a borough, down south. That was about the same. It was about 100,000. It was very, very similar towns, like, and all that. But it felt way bigger because there were so many more. There was cross travel happening. We were on a major interstate, and it's a massive difference because this feels, again, same like standard population, but it feels way smaller because the like through travel is reduced. Obviously,
well,
There's
think about it
nothing
this
around us.
way: a normal county is the size of a major city. So
Yeah.
we'll call it 30 miles by 30 miles.
Yeah.
Our borough is the size of Massachusetts.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
we have a state the size of a county.
Yeah.
So that's, But so I fell in love up here with everything, the environment, the people. I mean, I was, sitting there eating dinner the first night I was in town, and I had like 4 or 5 strangers come up to me and just talk. Hey, you look like you're new in town. And you can see. You can
Yeah.
tell the people that just rolled off the Alcan and got
Yeah.
here, and they're just not quite Alaskan
Well,
yet.
it's the mud that's caked
Yeah.
on your truck.
The amount of flies on the front of your grill.
yeah.
That's the major indicator. So,
That's for sure.
And then scraggly beards on military-looking men, right? That's all of us. So, but yeah, so I wound up staying. I had a couple injuries and stuff while I was up here too that kind of exacerbated the situation. And ultimately, at the end, I didn't feel like I could do my job in the Army to my full potential anymore. And I did want to stay here. I got tired of moving every 3 years. I've moved every 3 to 4 years my entire life, to include high school and college. So I've been here for 7 years now, and I don't see me leaving anytime soon.
Cool.
So you're from here.
Kind of.
Well, tell me about your childhood growing up in the Fairbanks, North Pole area.
Yeah, so I think it kind of relates. So my, as far back as I can remember, my parents, grandparents, great-grandparents, they've all been like pastors of churches.
Okay.
And that plays in because there's always, if you've been raised in churches, like this calling or something. So my great-grandpa heard the calling to go to Alaska, which I now interpret as he wanted to go to Alaska. And but anyways, however you want to look at that, God told him to come up to Alaska.
God told him to take what you want.
Yeah,
Go to
exactly.
Alaska.
So this is way before me. I hardly know he's passed now, of course, but the great grandpa. So he moved up. I guess he started some churches. I don't know his whole history. He moves back down. And when I say down, most of my family's in Arkansas, in that area.
And that's where you moved to when you left Alaska. So we're going to get to that later on.
Yeah. So that's kind of where it starts, and that's kind of keeps happening through generations. So I was actually born in Homer, Alaska, and I've heard it's beautiful. I moved away before I remember anything. I was so young, and I've never been back.
It is one of the more cooler places.
That's what I hear every single time.
Spit,
and I don't know if I'll ever go now because now it's such a thing. It's like, all right.
Yeah, it's definitely a tourist trap. It's a cruise destination now.
So I have to go back, so I was born there. We moved to Arkansas. You know what? I moved to Eagle River from that point, which is another Alaskan town, if you didn't know. And then we moved back to Arkansas because we have family down there. And we kind of just keep going back and forth. And I've talked about this a lot, too, for people who have been born and raised here or people who have come up in the military. Whatever the reason is, there is some kind of call that Alaska has. And it's like people will move away thinking they're never going to come back. And invariably, like within a decade
Almost
or something,
all of them come back.
You come back. You always come back. So
it's the calling.
Yeah, it keeps coming back. So I moved back and forth. I lived in Juneau. I lived back down in Arkansas, and then the not most recent, but we moved to Fairbanks, which, in my opinion, is. This is kind of funny. It's like the real Alaska, but then you talk to people from Barrow, even further north, and they're like, we're the real Alaska. But Fairbanks is about as north as you can get and still have some kind of civilization.
It's the real Alaska and having Starbucks at the same time.
We can have
our cake.
The last place to have Starbucks. So that was awesome. I remember moving. I would have been in high school, like sophomore year. I moved up here, and I remember telling people, of course, you always feel like the cool guy when you're moving out. And I do distinctly remember my grandparents, they were crying when we were leaving. And I turned to my mom and I was like, we're just going to Alaska. Like, what's the big deal? Like, I didn't get it. And, but anyways, so we came here and that was like the greatest, like hitting 40 below, 50 below. Like now you kind of get tired of it. But the first time when you're a kid, you're like, this is awesome. I can't believe how cold it is. My nostrils are freezing.
And then you get disappointed when you try to make a snowball and you can't.
Yeah.
It's too dry.
Yeah, so it's super dry here. If anybody didn't know, we're basically...
We do have a desert climate.
Yeah,
it's just a desert with a lot of snow.
Exactly. So, yeah, no snowballs. The few days that we get, like, really wet and sopping, all of my kids at this point now, we're like, we have to do it today. You want to make snowballs? Like, this is the only time.
But the snowman's going to last all winter.
Yeah, it's going to be...
So make a good one, because we got to stare at it for 6 months.
For sure.
Till the moose eats the carrot off the nose.
So, anyways, I moved up then. I graduated high school here, and at that point, it kind of became my hometown because I did move around so much. I have like my longtime friends are all here for whatever reason, and this kind of plays in. I'll come back to that, but met my wife here. We got married, and we had our first kid, and immediately we moved away from all of her family who still lived here. Back down to Arkansas. Yeah, so my wife wanted warmer climate. She never lived so far south. It was great. I pretty much, if anybody knows me, I'm happy anywhere. I like Arkansas. I like Alaska. Anywhere I've lived, I'm like, it's good. Yeah, it's good. Home. Yeah, it's good for different reasons. I'm trying to shorten this up as much as I can. Lived down there for a little bit, like 6 years or so, and my wife is like, you know what? I miss all my family. I was living close to my family, but she wanted to be back with all her immediate stuff. And I was like, all right, that's fine. Well, that's not true. So we had just moved within Arkansas. I had just restarted real estate, like when she brought it up probably 3 months prior. So I was like, I just got like my money income coming back in. I am not moving back to Alaska. When we left again,
especially the moving expense, man. It's thousands of dollars to move stuff up here.
Yeah, I've told you before, but I probably spent $100,000 coming back up, and that's not all like lost money.
No, that's buying a house. That's
swapping vehicles,
trailer rental fees, moving expenses, hotels, gas, all that stuff.
And it's not that expensive.
And it's not. Yeah. So don't get scared away. It doesn't cost $100,000 to live here, especially if you're military. It's free. But
exactly. So you can do it way cheaper. But I just kind of lumped everything in. But at that when I left Alaska, I was like, maybe I'll come back, but really no intentions of ever coming back. And again, here we are. So yeah, after we just started the new job, she's like, hey, I want to go back to Alaska. And I literally thought she was joking. I was like, we're not, we just moved. Like, if you can imagine, like, just getting your house settled in and then like, oh, let's move across country now. That's what that was. So she talked me into it over the next like 3 months. Our lease ended, and I was like, all right, let's do it. So
now or never.
Yep. So we came back, and it's only been about 18 months ago since we got back. But yeah, the difference, like the feeling of coming home, I didn't expect. living down in Arkansas for like 6 years and not really making like really good lifelong friends, even though like
good acquaintances, people that you care about, but not.
Can we talk about how hard it is as an adult? It feels like dating when you're
Tell me about it.
like just trying to make friends. Like I have my wife. I'm not looking for any lovers. I mean, anyways.
Not yet. No.
Just kidding. I'm not looking for any of that. I'm just looking for like friends. But like it's weird because you have guys that you're or girls or whatever. But usually like I'm trying to hang out with guys. Like, hey, let's make this a thing.
You want to date me?
You want to go on a date?
And then you have the commitment issues. Like, yeah, I want to hang out, but
yeah,
like, I don't want to hang out every week. Like,
yeah.
I kind of want to be on the couch and drink a beer by myself every now and again. Yeah, it's.
I think people who moved a lot, or people who did move a lot, maybe don't know the struggle because most of your friends are made like when you're in high school.
Yeah. Jewel and her friends were all the early 20s.
Yeah.
And they've been lifelong friends for 15, 20 years now.
It's super hard to make new. So, but anyways, when we came back, that was like, I had every weekend I could be hanging out with a different friend, it felt like. And I was like, hey, this is so great. And to be honest, most of them weren't made in high school here because I was only in high school for about 2 years. So whatever the reason is, I think it's mostly the people, like we just seem to get along. This brokerage has been, I've told you many times, favorite brokerage I've ever worked at. Friends with pretty much everybody in the office.
Nobody I hate in the office.
Yeah, exactly.
There's
which is
that
not
one
common.
guy you usually do kind of despise. But
Yeah.
There's not one right now.
Yeah, it's you, Nick.
Yeah, it's me.
You're the one.
If you don't have one, it's you, right?
That's why you're the one with it. So
God, I knew it.
Yeah, but the reason what got me excited to come back, and not that like I really had any say. If my wife says we're going somewhere, it's like eventually we're going to be there. But the reason that got me worked back into it, and why I love Fairbanks so much is, okay, let me back up. So I was living in Fairbanks, getting my hair cut by this young kid who says to me, hey, there's like, I love going down Anchorage, whatever. I forget how I asked him the question, but there's nothing to do here in Fairbanks. And I'm just thinking to myself, it's like, if I didn't work a job and I had 10 years, I don't know if I could do everything that I have like on my list of things that I want to do.
I get like PTSD every fall when I'm like, oh, there's so many things this summer I wanted to do that I didn't get to.
Yeah, even through the winter. Like
just Kennecott Mines. I've been trying to go to Kennecott Mines for 3 years now. Just take my RV down there.
Where is that at?
Near not that anybody knows where anything in Alaska is, but Ellis Rangel National Park down in the southeast side.
What is it?
To the north side. It's an old abandoned mine that you can still go to. It's got the whole little town there in the middle of nowhere. Mm-hmm. So literally you're driving through a mountain pass, nothing but wilderness for 100 miles, and then this huge mine complex on the side of a mountain on the other side of a river. It's a really narrow bridge you have to go across.
Yeah.
And they still do all the tours and stuff. And growing up in Appalachia, we have a lot of Civil War battlefields in the same era. But it's cool comparing like what people were doing in the late 1800s, 1900s down there versus what people were doing up here.
Yeah.
And it's two different worlds, man. It's like going to Antarctica. You're discovering a totally different civilization tucked away in Alaska in the turn of the 19th century, 20th century.
Yeah. Well, I think the history of Alaska is so interesting in how do I say this? I guess this is not true because the history, there's the same amount of history and whatnot, but like with real estate in particular, the age of houses.
They're not that old. But
Yeah,
they feel older.
Because
of the weather, because of the hardship, because of the maintenance, because of the soil conditions.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. So, all right, let me back up, then we'll get to that. We need to get to that. But the reason I love it so much, just in short, is all the outside stuff you can do. So going to mines like that, I really wanted to start getting into hunting, and I can't really call myself an avid hunter yet, but like that is a big goal. Like
You got an Alaskan goat, man.
I got an Alaskan goat.
That is
Thank you for bringing that up.
Really,
I didn't want to
I mean, we went with some pretty experienced hunters who did not get goats on that trip.
But all those items, like there's just like 1 million things to do. Like if you like riding 4-wheelers and you want to ride every trail in Alaska, you will die before you do that.
I would say you would spend a year just going around North Pole because they literally have ATV trails on the side of the road that kids use snow machines and ATVs on year round.
Yeah.
I got kids like
and that is really strange.
I'm driving to show a house and I'm seeing a little 10-year-old driving to school on a snow machine. Like how cool is that? You can't do that in Georgia or Virginia or places I've been from.
And that kind of wild feel, and this is something when I lived down south, I would say these same things over and over, but basically you can be dead center of town, and if you just start walking within hours, you can, for one, be totally lost, but you would be, walking on foot, a few miles probably in the middle of nowhere.
Well,
Like
biggest thing I hear-
any direction you choose.
Biggest
you know?
thing I hear from my clients all the time is I don't want to drive more than 30 minutes to work. And I have to tell them, if you drive more than 30 minutes to work, you don't have internet, cell phone service, or neighbors.
Yeah.
So I'm not worried about your commute.
Yeah, you're not going to
mean,
be... Yeah, so there's...
Fairbanks is right here. You got the Army base right here. You got North Pole here, and then the Air Force base here. It's all along a river, right?
Right, yeah.
And literally, Fairbanks from corner to corner takes you 15 minutes to drive through.
Mm-hmm.
North Pole, maybe 20 minutes because it's a bit more spread out. It's a smaller town, less people, but it's
Yeah.
a bigger plot of land, right?
Yeah.
So, everyone thinks because Alaska's so big that everything's so far away, but it's really, we're crammed into this little bubble, and
Yeah.
everything else around us is wilderness.
Yeah. Well, a big bonus of that, and again, this is all kind of shocking, not shocking, but I was surprised to find the more I was up here. So I used to live here, but when you're a kid, you don't think about anything.
Right.
I wasn't selling real estate then. I used to, in Arkansas, sell a lot of land. And I was like, I'll probably sell a lot of land in Alaska. It's Alaska. There's going to be a lot of land.
There is a lot of land.
There is a lot of land. There's not a lot of private land.
No.
So it's mostly, as far as I've heard, a third of the whole state is owned by negative corporations.
Yep.
A third is like
State, federal land.
and a third is no, it's not that much.
It's not even a third. It's like 15%.
I forget what I heard now. I'm lying to you.
Okay.
It's mostly public land.
Let's fact check ourselves here. For all you fact checkers out there,
Yeah,
please, right here, put the.
I know, because I think private land is like, single digits. It's not very
gotta
much.
It's got to be.
Yeah, we should look that up.
Because every highway, you got a couple plots on either side of it, but as soon as you go behind that plot, there's like
Yeah.
BLM land or state land.
Yeah, it's just
or
so huge.
National
There's
forest land. Yeah.
like 600,000 people in Alaska.
It's so there's 700,000 down in Anchorage. I think the total state's barely under 1 million, so like 980,000.
Okay, that's what it is. So, anyways, it's mostly public. So, as far as on the real estate sales, I don't sell a lot of large tracts of land because there's not very many of them. They're available. Most of them are trail access only, and it's kind
Recreational land.
Yeah. And at first, I was like, "This is such a bummer," and then I thought about it longer, and when I was in Arkansas selling land, people would literally come to me all the time and be like, I just wish I could buy 1 acre of land that adjoined national forest, or because that was the hunting and all the similar reasons as here. And it's like, here, it is
You don't
plentiful.
have to have the land.
You have whole neighborhoods that
Yeah.
they're all touching.
I got friends in
Yeah.
Texas that literally want to hunt, would love to hunt, but you need to know that rancher or that farmer or that person because all land in Texas is privately owned.
Yeah.
So you go, you follow your deer a little bit too far. You're on somebody's property. You need permission to harvest it. Here in Alaska, you go up into the White Mountains. You can walk for days, still be within the park,
Yeah.
and not see another human.
Yeah, you could die real quickly
die.
too. You could die and
Some
never see
steep
another
falls up
person.
there,
Yeah. So that part, it was in reality, it is a little bit more scary
Yeah.
as well because you do have so much. You can so easily get lost. Satellite phones or something that I didn't know. I'm trying to think if I knew one person in Arkansas that had a satellite phone.
Here, everybody. People have them in their
Everybody.
cars.
Yeah, people. Yeah, even if you're not a hunter, most people have some kind of satellite device. So it's
Sponsored by Garmin.
sponsored by Carmen, yeah. Send the check. So, anyways, but I did want to talk about going back to the houses and the way of life in Fairbanks.
Yeah.
So,
let's backtrack back to Fairbanks itself.
So you were saying like, hey, they're not that old. Like I think the oldest house I've been in maybe was the 30s. I don't even
The
know if it was
oldest
that
one I've
old.
sold is a 28 cabin, and that was like old pioneer style cabin.
Yeah,
where like
and that's all they are at that point.
But our average house here is 60s to 80s. That's when the big boom was, the pipeline boom in the 70s.
Yeah.
We built houses really cheaply then because oil prices were so cheap. So they're like, why put more money into the house when the oil is 50 cents a gallon?
Yeah.
Now we're building them a lot more robust and bigger and thicker and more efficient.
Yeah.
Because that heating cost up here is significant in the winter. But 70s, mid 70s is really like the average house here in Fairbanks.
So when I first came, what I noticed was the age. It's so many houses are older in the sense that they're 70s. And again, compared to the further you go east, I think, and I never sold like on the East Coast, but you've got houses that are hundreds of years old, which I was like, oh, that'd be really cool. And we don't have any of that here, as far as I've maybe one cabin somewhere, but it's so indicative of what was happening in the 20s and 30s. Like there was not much. They were just hunter cabins surrounded by literally nothing else. And now Fairbanks has grown up around some of those, which is really cool to see. Like they're in the middle of town, like an old log cabin.
Our oldest homes are downtown.
Yes.
It's so weird. You have a 8-story apartment building.
Yeah.
And then you have a log cabin 2 lots away.
Yeah.
Like it's cool. It's crazy. It's weird. It's quirky. It's a lot of different things.
I think the overall feeling, even into modern people building now, is, and I kind of laugh at it now because I'm like, man, so many of our houses, we got to be real here. So many of your houses are poorly built. We're poorly built. Some people are still poorly building houses. That's not.
It depends on who, what, where, when, why, and all that stuff. But yeah, there's
what it feels
there's a
like.
few.
So when I'm saying these poorly built now, it's mostly like these dry cabins that are being self-built by people. It feels like people in a harsh climate doing the best they can.
And we don't have code here, so you literally can buy a lot of land and build your own house on it. No permitting, no inspections, nothing's needed. And that's part of the awesomeness of Alaska. Is that you can do that. It's also part of the reason why like some of our houses kind of suck.
Yeah.
Because literally like Joe Schmo from Arkansas came up here and built his house on his lot of land and did the best he could.
Yeah.
But it's...
You kind of respect him.
You respect him, but you
as
don't
a real
wanna...
estate agent, you're like, gall darn. You know, it's
I just wish you had paid somebody to build this for you.
Just do this better. So it's frustrating. But yeah, it's all part of the, like, people come up here, they want to live in a place with no restrictions. Yeah. It's like, okay, your neighbor also has no restrictions.
I want to live and be left alone.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like this double-edged sword that I would not change. So we said dry cabins. If you don't live here in Alaska, there's no water. There's no people are using outhouses. Yeah, so 40 below, people are using outhouses. And this is not like we have 3 houses that are doing this. We have thousands. Hundreds at least.
I wouldn't say that, but yeah, hundreds.
Hundreds of houses.
There's a whole subdivision where near the college where it's just dry cabins.
Shocking. I lived here before and I didn't know. I had no idea. Maybe if you'd asked me, does somebody live with an outhouse? I'd be like, yeah, maybe somebody does. But it's so many people here that are like totally used to it. I sold a house to a guy. He's only lived in a dry cabin, never had running water, nothing. He was probably my age, maybe mid-20s, late 20s. And I sold him an off-grid cabin, still no plumbing or anything. But it had an incinerator toilet, which is inside, and it doesn't need plumbing.
Can't be financed.
Yeah, can't be financed. So yeah, this was a cash deal. But anyways, and we got to closing. I'm like, I bet you're excited about that toilet being inside because they still had an old outhouse. And it was him and his girlfriend. His girlfriend's like, oh yeah. He's like,
I bet you still use the outhouse.
Yeah, he's like, I don't know if I trust that. I'm like, what do you mean you don't trust it? You just sit on it and do the business. So I should call him to see what he
Look at your client and be like, you're full of shit.
I know, yeah, seriously, because he's not putting it in the toilet. So anyways, he's like, I'll probably still use that house there, whatever. But he did say, and this is true, you'll hear this all over, if you want to see northern lights, you've got to use an outhouse. Because you're outside all the time.
Nothing about doing number 2 and looking up at the sky.
Yeah, for sure. So, anyways, I think we covered quite a bit here.
We're wrapped up. We're going to wrap up a little bit because we're getting to the end of our time now. But let's do a little bit of kind of a flash fire question kind of thing here. So let's talk about some things we have here in Fairbanks that we recommend. Okay. So your favorite grocery store?
I don't have a favorite grocery store. I guess Costco. If I was going to pick a favorite grocery
Fred Meyer's, man.
Yeah.
It's like Walmart had baby with Kroger. Can't get better than that.
I don't know. That's like saying what's your favorite bread. I don't know. Like you just use
Wonder Bread. With Nutella.
I don't have strong feelings.
Throw it in a toaster.
I'm not going to argue with you about your favorite.
Make your own stuffed bowls.
I feel like you were trying to want something from me.
What about restaurants? I
don't know. I was just thinking about this. We have so many good Thai food places.
We are the international capital of Thai outside of Thailand.
Is this an official thing?
It's an official thing.
Oh, I didn't know that.
We have 37 Thai restaurants.
Yeah.
In a town that only has like 4 burger places.
Yeah, that's true.
So
I still would probably go with Blue Roof, which is a burger.
Blue Roof is a good burger joint. So mine is kind of a half-ass answer. Silver Gulch Brewing Company. They had amazing food.
They're not here.
COVID hit. They got closed down. They're reopening next week.
That didn't count.
Yes.
What's your current?
Current. All right.
Open.
Current. Shout out to Aurora Mediterranean on Cushman.
They're good.
They're really good. It's just a little hole in the wall,
yeah.
Palestinian place, amazing food, super fresh ingredients, affordable menu, and a variety of food. So
that's the place that when people are like, I don't want the touristy place. Mm-hmm. Like I want you to send me to and you can feel good sending them to Aurora's because
what's the other one? Spice It Up.
Yeah,
I would say those are probably tied up there. The only difference is Aurora has a better of a menu, like a bigger menu.
Yeah,
and then Spice It Up, they're specialists. Like they make an amazing they're Pakistani, amazing Pakistani dishes. But it's you got your 5 options.
Is that the one? Where's Spice It Up at?
Right across the street here. Yeah, off of Airport.
Oh, I haven't eaten there.
Next to Big Ray's.
I think there's another one that's very similarly named.
I'm sure there's a few.
Maybe it doesn't matter.
Thai spicy or something.
I think. For the population we have, and I think people will disagree, we have a really good variety of restaurants.
Google Guy Fieri. He comes up here at least once a year, and he tours all of our restaurants, and he actually claims that we have some really good food. I think we take it for granted because we only have a limited option. If you're here long enough, and especially in the winter, you want to go get some dinners, you're going to go through all those restaurants over time. But there's very few bad restaurants here.
Yeah, and I think there's just a lot per capita. So, like,
Yeah.
again, going back to Arkansas, like, if you wanted the best Mexican food, I don't know, maybe Texas has that too.
I will say we have awful Mexican food here. Just bland.
It's
Just
okay.
bland. It's not bad. It's not gross.
Whoa.
I just
The 3 Mexican
there's some
restaurants
lower
are crying
there's
out.
some lower 48 spices that we need to bring up here.
Yeah.
To kind of punch those flavors back.
Here's
up.
what seriously, if somebody would open a year-round taco truck and do street tacos and have it, and year-round for, truck stuff doesn't happen.
Tommy's Tacos was amazing, but they just closed down too.
Were they year-round, do you know?
They were year round.
Oh, okay.
But
well, I
they
never
just
went there.
closed down.
So I went there once. That's probably why they.
Yeah.
I wouldn't call those street tacos though. They didn't really have. They were too big. You have to have like
Yeah,
the
they're
tiny.
medium sized. You're talking about the super small ones.
You need the tiny ones that up here they won't be cheap, but
Lane's,
as cheap as
Lane's
possible.
Quickie Tacos
Too
on College
big,
Road.
though.
They are too big.
They're
but
too big.
I'm not gonna. It's Alaska. Everything's bigger.
They're-
We're trying to take that back from Texas. You know, they always brag about how everything's bigger, but everything's bigger here. So.
Well, Texas has the best tiny tacos,
They
so
do.
they know when to
They
make
do.
it tiny.
But a proximity to the border, I'm sure, has something to do with that,
Yeah,
too.
that's right.
By the way, if there's any illegal immigrants that want to come to Alaska, I'm more than happy to put you to work.
We've got a taco
we have
truck
a little
idea
bit of,
you're gonna love.
we have some job opportunities in
Low
all
wages
fields.
you won't believe. But anyway, that's favorite
Minimum wage,
restaurant.
$20 an hour, no problem. We can get you even higher than that if you try harder.
Okay, so
So fire some of me. What are some other things we don't?
oh, you got the easy ones. You got the favorite grocery store knocked out of the way.
Best thing to do.
Best thing to do, yeah. When you first get here, what are you gonna do? Like, it could be a day-long thing. It could be an afternoon.
Hiking.
Okay. Do you have a
And
specific
that's
trail?
what makes it harder, though. Yeah, so you can buy a book that I highly recommend called Outside in the Interior, and that's got pretty much all of the major hiking places around Fairbanks. It goes all the way down to Healy and down to Delta. It covers the interior of Alaska.
Okay.
So if you want your commercial paved nice walkways, that's it. But that's the thing about Alaska. There's so many hidden trails where you need to know a friend of a friend of a friend who found this thing. Mm-hmm. Then you're gonna find the cool ones. Granite Tours is probably my favorite one. That's Chena Hot Springs. It's only about 20 minutes outside of town.
So
But that's a 12-mile loop, right?
yeah. It's a long way.
But you can go into the White Mountains, which is just national park, and walk, and you will find trails and game trails and ATV trails that are on no map, are not recorded in any way, shape, or form.
And you'll be out so far, and you're like, oh, I cannot believe
And
this.
you'll
and you'll
see
see a
things.
trapping, like somebody trapping for a fox or
Yeah.
something out there, which is pretty cool. It's like,
And you'll see things that like lower 48ers just stare at Instagram for. Like,
Mm-hmm.
we have like the most Instagram ready
Yeah.
nature around us.
Yep.
And all people think is that everything up here is a oil field and pipelines, but
No.
we can't even explain how large Alaska is.
Yeah. Well,
To
we
dri-
have all the climate zones.
We do.
From desert to rainforest. Like, we have it all.
And it doesn't even make
Yeah.
sense how it works because the rainforest is down south, the desert is up north, then you have the Arctic tundra around everywhere. You got
Yep.
swamps. We literally got places if you walk into, you'll be hip deep in quicksand,
Yeah.
and you can't get out.
Yeah.
So there's some pretty crazy stuff here.
Yeah. We'll have to talk about our goat trip one of these times. We'll look at that.
We'll do a whole episode on that one. Kodiak,
So-
let's never go back.
If I was
Love
gonna-
it, but
yeah.
try to kill me.
If I was going to do one thing, it's more touristy, but it's still like super fun, is in 20 below or colder, going to the hot springs.
Yep.
For sure. Chena Hot Springs.
Especially at night in the winter.
It's a staple.
It's a really cool one.
Yeah.
Especially when the northern lights are out. You can't beat that. That's a good one. That's $15 in a 1 hour drive.
Yeah. So, I don't know. Anyways, there's so much, like, I think you really need off-road vehicles. Like, I don't know. Some people like to hike everything. Yeah, you got to have it.
if you want to see more, the quicker you move around, the better it is, right?
Yeah.
So our last parting kind of piece here is if somebody was to come to a Fairbanks, Alaska, specifically here, right, for one weekend, normal tourist kind of stuff, what would you tell them to get into?
Man. Heck, 1 weekend's not very long.
Let's make it a week.
Let's make it a week. Okay,
make it a
so for the most part, I would probably rent some kind of camper, to be honest, or I would rent a remote, like Airbnb. I wouldn't stay in a hotel.
Yep.
That's just me personally. I'd stay in some
No
cabin
offense,
somewhere.
hotel people, don't kill us.
Yeah, hotels suck and I hate them. No, but if you're coming to Alaska, I assume that you want to be wild. Like, if you want to do, not like Vegas wild, but if you want to do like shopping trips and things, like Alaska is like the last place you should be coming. So if you're coming to Fairbanks in particular, get out in the woods already.
It should be like ecotourism.
Yeah, and you should, for the most part, if you find a nice enough spot, or if you get a camper or something, you should just be outside, like hanging around, like not driving. I mean, you can drive places that's really pretty. And
Every day, just pick a different pull out on a road, different road. Like, there's so much
Exactly.
private, public land that you can just camp on.
Yep. Once a day, I pick a new restaurant to eat at. You got to hit Pagodas. That's like a
Pagodas,
tourist.
yeah.
So
best Chinese food I've ever had.
Yeah.
Period. I'd say.
Yep. Take one day where you go to North Pole. You go to the Santa Claus house, which is really dope. Like it's
Actually, really cool.
It's a really cool. Like it's a tourist trap.
His name is Santa Claus. Like legally, he changed it to Santa Claus.
Yeah.
He works 364 days a year. Guess which day he doesn't work?
Yeah, he's still working.
He's still working.
He's just not at his house anymore.
Santa is real.
Yeah. So Santa's there. It's an awesome
He's
workshop.
also the North Pole Council. And he's
They cook fudge.
ran for Congress this year too. Santa Claus ran for Congress.
Yeah,
this year.
that guy's.
I'm kind of glad he didn't win.
I don't know if that's. I don't think that's the same Santa that's at the Santa Claus house. Anyways, I don't want to ruin the magic here.
Okay,
but
sorry. Santa's also a politician.
Santa's a politician, iffy on that side. So go to the Santa Claus house. They are making fudge, and spend all your money there because that's really easy. Hit pagodas while you're there, which is
See a reindeer. They have a whole reindeer.
Oh
pit.
yeah. They have
all
reindeers.
Donner, Blitzen.
Yep.
Rudolph is on hiatus right now,
Yep,
but
yep.
the rest of them are all there.
Got a runny nose.
Puns.
So yeah, I'd be hitting the restaurants. I would be definitely hitting that. I don't know if you are not used to, again, because I'm mostly Southern, like if you want to see Northern sports kind of things, like doing a tour on a snow machine would be really fun.
Yep.
And if the week you come, let's just say
Dog
there
sledding.
is, oh my gosh, dog sledding. I almost
You can
forgot.
go to any kennel, and they'll take you out dog sledding.
So if you've
Where
ever-
else can you do that?
Yeah, if you've ever been four-wheeling or snow machining or anything and you've not been dog sledding, it is totally different in the fact that it is so quiet and so peaceful.
Yep.
Like the dogs are wild when they first start. They're all going off. You can't even talk to anybody. They're so loud. And the minute they start running, you just hear like them going through the snow.
Yep.
And that was like, I don't know, like you just have in your head when you're going fast on a trail that
That's gotta be loud.
you're hearing wah the whole time, but it's like just quiet, them like huffing and puffing. Anyways, yeah, no, that's awesome. Also going to a hockey game because that's, I don't
And
know. Yeah,
Ice Dogs season openers tonight.
That's what I'm saying.
There you go.
So yeah, in this magical week that everything can happen. But I think you would be like, I wouldn't hate to make it too full for somebody because I think most of the time you should just try spending like being outside, like enjoying being outside because I think that's.
I think so too.
100%
And that
what
goes
it
with
lasts
my
for.
answer. I think my answer would be plan a trip in advance, get with an outfitter. If you're a hunter, I'm speaking directly to you, go out and do a 1 week hunt.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah,
there is
100%.
you won't be able to appreciate Alaska in any better form than 7 days in the wilderness alone, dropped off by an airplane, chasing the
I don't know if I
biggest
would start
animals.
there. You need somebody with you.
I didn't say we'll start there. I mean, there's different types of tourism. You talk more about vacation tourism.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm talking more of like adventure tourism. But
I think that'd be the way.
I think that would be if you had the stuff already and you're an avid outdoorsman, there's no better thing you can do in Alaska. And you can throw a dart at the map, it doesn't matter. Every single spot other than Anchorage City. I mean, I got people that have pulled monster bull moose out of like Kramer's Field with a bow.
Yeah, you can
And, like-
you can bow hunt like in Fairbanks city limits, which is pretty wild.
Can you imagine that anywhere else?
Yeah, I know. And there's kind of
Other than-
this.
Other than Arkansas, y'all get like the first week of deer season off school,
Yeah, everybody-
so
yeah,
that doesn't
so-
really count. Okay, I'm talking to the wrong guy here, but
But no, it's the one thing that I learned in my like very minimal hunting trips is every single time, if ever you do a hunting trip here, you are going to be colder than you expect.
always.
Like it
In
doesn't matter.
August, we were freezing.
It doesn't matter what time of year it is. That's
It's
the
just
thing.
windy. It wasn't cold. It was 60 degrees, but we were
Yes.
just cold.
Yeah, the Kodiak
Yeah.
hunt. It was March, but it was in Kodiak. I was like, oh, we're further south. Everything's gonna be good. It was
52 degrees.
52 degrees.
But
We got
then
up
the
in
wind,
hills. Yeah.
then the wind hit us, and we're in the snow. Yeah.
So, anyways,
Yeah.
but yeah, no. So that's.
Yeah.
I think we've kind of roundabout, but that's pretty much
Yeah.
why we live here. It's pretty.
It's a
here.
cool place that nobody ever has gotten everything out of.
Yeah.
So.
No, for sure.
Well, Blake,
Cool.
hey, thanks for taking some time this morning and sitting down.
Let's finish this with a high five over the table.
Uh.